Enjoy. I'm turning my
Hello,
camera off.
everybody. I'm sorry. I think we're ready to go. Let's open up the door. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Daily with Doc. My name is Becca Dukes. I am the hostess of this program, and I am excited to be able to offer this information that is empowering instead of disempowering, like many want us to be. We are empowered individuals, and when we are loaded with knowledge, we're able to take that knowledge and make wiser decisions to help ourselves. And that's what this program is all about, is doing it yourself, because there's a lot of people out there with intentions that may not be in our best interest. But who's better to think of ourselves than ourselves? So let's get some more information that allows us to be able to make wise decisions and what we put in our environments, in our mouths, throughout our bodies. And there's no better person to help us with that than the man that we have on with us. Or maybe I should say, there's two great men to help us with this. And we're going to have the other one on with us today. Although I see Dr. Wallach on as well. So hi, Doc. But before we go further into the program, hello, Dave, out on YouTube. Hello, Ron. Bonjour. And hello, Skin, from Sacramento. Let us know where you're at. If you are out watching our live stream anywhere, whether you're on Facebook or on YouTube or Rumble or Brighteon, Patreon, all of these different locations we are now streaming to, in addition to Apple TV, Roku TV, Fire TV, and still rolling strong or airing strong on KSCO and KOMY on the radio. So we are excited to be able to be reaching so many different people all around the world. And if you are somewhere, anywhere, let us know where you're at. And don't forget to share this information. So this program is a resource to an amazing, great group of people. If somebody shared this program with you, make sure that you get back with them. If you are finding us all on your own or in response to one of our newsletters going out, feel free to reach back out to us, either as a reply to that newsletter or give our call team a call at 855-949-3377. You can find all of our replays or most of our replays and important documents that help you continue your knowledge on dailywithdoc.com, including a store with the products that we trust most when it comes to nutrition and supporting the body to be its optimal best. So today is Pharmacist Friday, and I'm excited to be able to welcome to the screen with me the amazing pharmacist who was told he just wasn't Kmart material many years ago. And that's all right, because he is far beyond being behind the pharmacy, although you spent many years in the pharmacy world, and you still do as a compound pharmacist, right?
I never should have told you that story about Kmart.
Well, I think it's just kind of cute because, when I was growing up, Kmart was the place to shop.
You know, America's favorite store, Kmart. Anyway, I've been a compounding pharmacist for many years. I studied compounding in pharmacy school, and I had a retail experience, as you know, with grocery stores, and not just Kmart. I worked at Walgreens, and I worked at Safeway, and all the major retail chains, and I just found it to be very dissatisfying. I wanted to help people, and even though we have this idea in our culture, present company excluded likely, but the mainstream has this idea that drugs make you better. That's not the case. That's a mind virus. We talked about memes before. There's a mimetic infection that has occurred in our culture that tells us that the medical model can heal us and make us better. Now, surgery is accepted. And sometimes you need surgeries. A rock falls on your head or you break your leg or whatever. And there are certainly reparative strategies in what we call heroic medicine. But heroic medicine accounts for a sliver of our healthcare misery and our healthcare costs. Heroic medicine is about 20% in terms of dollars, about 20% of the dollars spent on, in terms of healthcare on heroic things, like when you break a leg, or when you damage a part of the body. Most of our healthcare costs and most of our healthcare misery is based on chronic degenerative disease. And at the risk of boring the people listening on this call, I'm sure there's probably other people, there's probably guests on this call as well who haven't heard this before. The modern medical model is not equipped to deal with these kinds of conditions. Heart disease, #1 killer. Cancer, the #2 killer. Diabetes, the #3 killer. If you actually include the dysglycemic relationship to cancer and heart disease, dysglycemia is the #1 killer. Messed up blood sugar. There's nothing in the doctor's magical bag of tricks, notwithstanding the ridiculous commercials you see on TV every hour, that can help us stabilize the way the body processes sugar. The drugs can force the body to make different chemicals and compel the body to do certain things so that the metrics look appropriate. But there's nothing in the doctor's magical bag of tricks that can help us help you Americans deal with the bulk of our health challenges, which are said to be chronic degenerative conditions. But that doesn't matter because it's all lifestyle based. And that's what I found in the pharmacy. I found that by using nutritional supplementation, we could get results that drugs would only in their wildest fantasies be able to accomplish. And so I made myself a nutritional pharmacist. I figured, hey, nutrients are God's medicine. Nutrition is God's medicine. That's the way we're supposed to be treating ourselves, not with doctors, but through our lifestyle, through our dietary choices and our supplemental choices. And I started doing that in the early 90s. And then I ran in, you've heard the story. I ran into Dr. Wallach's tape, and I was completely blown away because here was this brilliant naturopath, vet, pathologist, all the other things that Dr. Wallach is, saying these things in a much more powerful way than I've ever said. And, through serendipity and good luck and praise God, and how there's no accidents. Dr. Wallach and I had a mutual friend. And next thing I know, there's Doc walking into my lab in 1998, just about 26 years ago, May 1998. I'll never forget it. And we hit it off, and the rest is history, as they say. So I've dedicated my life to helping people understand how to use nutritional supplements like medicines. Now, nutritional supplements don't have the same kind of intensity that medicine has. They work gently. They work by integrating themselves into biochemistry and into structural components of the body, and that takes a certain amount of time. Drugs give you instant results, not necessarily good results, but they give you an instant effect. And every once in a while, you'll read studies that compare drugs to, or compare the power of drugs to the power of nutrients for dealing with various health challenges. And nutrients always come out less intense than drugs. And that's made to sound like it's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. The body incorporates things into itself in a very judicious, economical, and careful fashion. Drugs are like a hammer that hammers the biochemistry, or that hammers the structural chemistry of the body. That's why you have inevitably what are called side effects or adverse effects. You don't have that with nutritional supplements. And that's why I love nutrients so much, is because in pharmacy, we are always looking for potency without toxicity. There are drug companies that spend trillions, billions of dollars, trillions probably collectively around the world, looking for molecules that will have potency, will have a high degree of potency with a little bit of toxicity. They can't get away with no toxicity, so they're satisfied with a little bit of toxicity. Well, God beat them to it. That's what nutrients are. And that's why, to a pharmacist, nutrients are the perfect medicines. And I always make this joke, and it's kind of a joke, but it's really not. When nutrients are what drugs dream they could be. When prednisone goes to bed at night, it dreams it was vitamin C. Why? Because you get not only the potency, the effects that you want, not the potency, but the effects that you want, with not only no side effects, but with beneficial effects. Imagine a drug that you took for your immune system that would also improve your heart health, improve your vascular health, improve your skin health, improve your digestive health, your adrenal health, and your thyroid health, and no toxicity. And it did what it was supposed to do, and it cost pennies a day. Well, that's what a nutrient is. That's what something like vitamin C is. And speaking of effects or benefits without toxicity, the mighty 90 essential nutrients are the core of everything. As we always say, the hub and spoke model, where everything is built around the mighty 90 essential nutrients. And so while we talk about a lot of different supplements and a lot of different formulations, the core of everything is the mighty 90 essential nutrients, the healthy start pack, and then you can start building around it for other specific needs. But after the mighty 90 essential nutrients, there's a few other things that you could do that can help support health. And one of the most important is a class of molecules called polysaccharides. Polysaccharides, poly means many, saccharides means sugar, are long chains of sugars that are connected end to end. Sometimes they branch off and they have different kinds of shapes all around. Generally, they're referred to as polysaccharides. And these polysaccharides do several very important things in the body. They, number one, form the gel. They're an important component of the gel-like matrix within which all the living cells sit. I'm going to explain that in a minute. We always talk about all disease is cell disease. And that's true. When we're sick at the level of the cell. But the cell is ensconced or embedded in a womb, which we talked about before, called the matrix. Matrix actually means womb. And as we age, and as degeneration kicks in, and as the body breaks down, the hallmark sign of this degenerative process is deterioration of the matrix. When the matrix deteriorates, it's no longer able to communicate or to feed or to electrify or to oxygenate or detoxify the cells. So while all disease is cell disease, the cell is embedded in the matrix like a fetus is embedded in a womb. And if the womb or the matrix is not healthy, the cell won't be healthy either. So building the matrix is the very essence of anti-aging. And I'm in the, you guys probably know, many of you know, I'm in the skincare business. I've been in the skincare business for decades. And one of the most prominent holy grails in anti-aging skincare is the matrix in the face, building the matrix in the face. And when we get older, we can see degeneration, deterioration in the matrix by thinning skin, by wrinkles, and this freaks people out. People will do all kinds of things in order to not to prevent this from happening, but to hack into the system almost mechanically so that it doesn't appear that degeneration is occurring. There's a drug that people will take, or not a drug, there's an injection that people will take in their skin to actually fake out to disguise a deteriorating matrix, and that's called Botox. Botox's job is to make it look like the skin is firmer than it really is. But if you've ever seen somebody who has a deteriorating matrix plus Botox, you know, it doesn't look so great. Sometimes they'll inject matrix into the skin, not so that the matrix will integrate into your matrix, but that so it will just plump things up. That's called Juvederm. Also hyaluronic acid. Some of you guys may have heard of it. Topically, there's things that you can do, put on top of your skin to help stimulate the production of matrix materials, vitamin C, retinol, alpha-hydroxy acids, etc. But the best way to build the matrix, whether it's in your face or whether it's in the matrix in the bulk of the body, is to eat matrix material. Ingestion of matrix material. And one of the things that got my attention listening to Dr. Wallach's tape, Dead Doctors Don't Lie, was when he talked about, we don't talk about it as much as we should, but I think to me it's one of the most important products that we have, and that's the pig pack. The pig pack is, and I don't know, I'm assuming Dr. Wallach got this idea from indigenous cultures and from people eating, ingesting bones and ingesting cartilage throughout history. You got, what's Doc saying?
Oh, he's holding up a list of what's in the pig pack.
Okay.
Because that's how I started with the pig pack.
The pig pack is the pig pack excels in building this matrix. That's the job of the pig pack, is to build a matrix. And that's because ingesting matrix material, that's what collagen is, a matrix material, for example. Ingesting matrix material builds your matrix. So anything you do to build the matrix is going to support a healthy aging process, and can even reverse the degeneration that occurs with age, whether that degeneration is in the bones, or whether that degeneration is in the joints and the ligaments, or whether that degeneration is in the vascular system, the blood system, or whether that degeneration is in the connective tissue that holds the body together, or whether that degeneration is anywhere in the body, because by building the matrix, you're going to support the bulk of the body as well as supporting the health of the cells. And that's where we get to my favorite non-essential longevity product. Now, you guys all know probably, I'm sure, there's essential nutrients and there's non-essential nutrients. Essential is like air. Sometimes people will say essential means your body can't make it and you got to get in the diet. I don't think that expresses it clearly enough, the importance or the essential nature of these nutrients, the essentiality of these nutrients. I think of essentiality or essentialness, if that's a word, as air. Air is essential. Without air, what happens? You die. Without the mighty 90 essential nutrients, you die. And that expresses it more powerfully to me than just saying essential nutrients are nutrients you can't make. I say essential nutrients are nutrients you better have or you're dead. And you don't just die, you degenerate slowly, you break down. Now, fortunately, nobody gets zero of a lot of these essential nutrients. So the degenerative process is long and sustained. But the number one reason from a physical perspective is a lack of these essential nutrients. So whenever you're talking about essential nutrients, don't just only say essential nutrients are nutrients you got to get in the diet because you can't make, because your body can't make them. That doesn't express them as clearly or as seriously as they should be. Essential nutrients are like air. Just like you better have air, you better have your essential nutrients. So I've got the mighty 90 essential nutrients. They're the core of everything. But then there are non-essential nutrients that are super duper valuable and important for health. The ultimate enzymes, incredibly important. They're not like the essential nutrients, but they're incredibly valuable. We've talked about the multifunctionality of the ultimate enzymes. The glucogel caps, they're not absolutely essential, but for building the matrix, they're incredibly valuable. And a third, and my favorite, of the non-essential nutrients that we sell that are not essential in the sense that they're like air, but they're still extremely valuable and extremely helpful, is fucoidan. Fucoidan is a polysaccharide. There's no one thing called fucoidan. There are various fucoidins, technically. And these fucoidins all are polysaccharides that have one particular sugar in them. That sugar is called fucose. Not necessary to know that, but that's where we get the name fucoidan. And what makes fucoidan, the Fucoid Z and the ZRadical, I personally like the Fucoid Z a little bit better than the ZRadical. The ZRadical is nice, kind of tasty, and it's a nice little tonic. But if you really want the medicine, in my opinion, the Fucoid Z that's where you get the real medicine. You're ingesting these polysaccharides, and that builds up your polysaccharides. So that means by ingesting fucoidan, you're going to be supporting the health of this matrix material, which is what degenerates as we get older over time. And this provides tremendous all-around health benefits because of somewhere around 30–40% of the body is made up of this connective tissue matrix, which is largely itself made up of polysaccharides. So you get a wide range of benefits with the Fucoid Z. Wide range. Everybody knows about it not everybody, but its claim to fame is for the immune system. And if you go online and look up fucoidan and cancer, you'll see hundreds of studies that talk about the importance of fucoidan for building up the immune system. And that's true. And it's very valuable for that, not just for cancer, but also for viruses. Use your imagination. The latest virus, you can use your imagination. Fucoidan is a wonderful antiviral compound. These are all things that are in the literature, by the way. So you can say fucoidan has antiviral properties. It builds the immune system, has antiviral properties, but it's much more than that. Fucoidan also has, like all polysaccharides, has a very interesting electrical nature. And this electrical nature accounts for one of the Fucoid Z's most important benefits, and that is to the blood. We said all disease is cell disease, but all cell diseases preceded by dirty blood. Dirty blood, or blood, by the way, itself is a liquid connective tissue. It's a type of matrix, but it's liquid, blood is very fascinating. You look at blood, you think it's a liquid, but it's actually not. It's a gel. And it has a kind of bouncy quality to it, a viscous sort of elastic quality to it. And it's just like a gel, goes in and out. It's supposed to. But as we get older, as we age, And as the impact of a toxicity in the body accumulates, especially toxicity that's entering in through the intestine, the blood becomes what I call dirty. It gets contaminated. It gets contaminated with factors that are leaking in through the intestine in terms of bacteria and bacterial secretions. Some of these are very serious. They call them endotoxins. Also from food particles that leak into the blood. And this is where gluten becomes such a problem. And molecules like gluten, they can get into the bloodstream. Once things get into the bloodstream, they completely throw off the blood chemistry, and the blood starts to coagulate and clump. It doesn't move as well. When the blood is not flowing as well, there are numerous secondary problems that are linked to that. Number one, when the blood is not moving as well, when the blood is kind of stuck together, the blood cells particularly, the blood isn't able to nutriate the cells effectively. This where all disease is cell disease, but all cell disease preceded by dirty blood. Dirty blood inhibits the blood's ability to feed cells. All cells are fed through the blood. Also, oxygenation of cells becomes compromised. Cells are oxygenated through the blood. Also, detoxification is impaired because the cellular system, the blood system, and the lymphatic system, which are kind of connected to each other, is responsible for draining the areas around the cell. So you end up with toxic cells, you end up with starved cells, you end up with suffocated cells, all secondary to blood that's clumping up, blood cells that are not moving as effectively. What does this got to have to do with the Fucoid Z? Well, the Fucoid Z contains charges, electrical charges. I'll talk about these electrical charges here in a second because they're very fascinating. The Fucoid Z contains electrical charges that interact with blood cells and allow them to spread apart. And this makes the Fucoid Z a very important blood thinner, not like a drug blood thinner. Blood thinning drugs have a reputation in the world of pharmacy for being the most deadly of all drugs. Why? Because when the blood wants to clot, it's going to clot. Clotting of the blood is a major survival strategy for the body. Why? Because if you have toxicity in the blood, you don't want the blood flowing around to all the cells. If you get cut, if you get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger on the African savannah, one of the ways your body survives is by clotting the blood, so you don't bleed all over the savannah. In fact, you may know this, people who've had surgery know that when they have surgery, everybody gets a common drug after surgery. Why? What's that drug, by the way? The drug's called heparin. Heparin is it's a polysaccharide. It's very similar to fucoidan in a lot of ways. And heparin causes the blood to clot because when you're on a surgical table and you get a surgical procedure done, your body thinks it's been being eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. It'll clot the blood. So they got to give you blood thinners in order to keep the blood moving. So, and in order to keep blood clots from forming. Well, fucoidan does the same thing. Fucoidan's electrical charges help maintain the fluidity of the blood. And this makes fucoidan valuable for everything. It's a blood tonic in this way. So by virtue of its ability to help improve blood flow, it improves all cellular activity. Not like a drug. Drugs are very powerful blood thinner. Blood thinners are very powerful drugs. They're very powerful anti-clotters. They are like all drugs. They force or compel the body to do what the doctor, what the pharmacist wants the body to do. Fucoidan just kind of gently inserts itself between blood cells and allows them to spread. It's not involved in the biochemistry of clotting at all, like a blood thinner, like a warfarin or Coumadin or Eliquis or some of the more newfangled ones. It just simply gently intersperses itself between blood cells and allows them to spread apart. And that gives it tremendous benefits for the entire system. And that's why you can use the Fucoid Z. You don't have to be sick to benefit from the Fucoid Z. It's just going to improve delivery of nutrients, delivery of oxygen, and improve detoxification, just as a general blood tonic. But there's more. The fucoidan is also, fucoidan in the Fucoid Z, and as well as the ZRadical, is also important for the digestive system. Fucoidan, Fucoid Z, acts like a prebiotic. Well, I heard of probiotics. Probiotics bacteria that improve the bacterial profile of the intestine. Well, it turns out that bacteria need to be fed, and this is where prebiotics are, and your Fucoidan and your Fucoid Z and your ZRadical function as a prebiotic that can improve digestive health functions. You got improvement in blood function. You got improvement in digestive health function. You got improvement in immunity. You got improvement in for cancer. It turns out that the polysaccharides in the Fucoid Z and Fucoidan also help lower blood fats. They help lower blood triglycerides. You all hear about cholesterol, and everybody's always focusing on cholesterol in the blood. Cholesterol, as Dr. Wallace has been saying for years, and myself and other people who understand how the body works have been saying, is very important. You don't want to monkey around with cholesterol. Blood fats are different. Blood fats are a problem. Blood triglycerides are a problem. It turns out that Fucoid Z has a balancing effect on blood fats and on triglycerides. And as all diabetics know, or dysglycemics know, if they're being treated by a physician, they're always having their triglycerides checked, and their triglycerides are going to be high. Using the Fucoid Z can help lower triglycerides. The Fucoid Z is also Fucoid Z and the ZRadical Fucoid is also powerful antioxidant. It supports something called autophagy, which is self-cleaning. Autophagy is the body cleaning out old cells, toxic cells, distorted cells, senescent cells, aging cells. Fucoidan, the Fucoid Z and the ZRadical help support autophagy, which is the pruning of these old cells. And then possibly my favorite aspect of the Fucoid Z is its ability to organize water. I think we've talked about structured water in the past. One of the ways that the body maintains its integrity, you always hear the body is 60% water, 70% water. And really logic would, if you use your, you think about it, how could we be 60% water? How could we be 70% water? Does that even make any sense to anybody? How could we be 70% water, 2/3 water? We'd be sloshing around like a puddle. Well, how does that work? How's the body 70% water, but we don't slosh around? If I take a vice and I squeeze my arm, water's not going to come out of it. Why? Because that's the water that they're talking about is not ordinary water. It's a structured water. It's a water that has an ability, that has interacted with electrical charges in the body, and these electrical charges make the water create a certain structure in the water. If you look at it under a microscope, you see it's like a crystal. And the majority of the water of the body is in this liquid crystal format. Well, this liquid crystal format is organized and maintained by electrical charges, especially electrical charges that are on one of the body's most important electrolytes. Electrolytes are distribute electrical charges through the liquid portion of the body. That's why they call them electrolytes. Electrolytes are charged particles that contribute their electrical charges to the liquid portion, the watery portion, and by virtue of the relationship between the water molecules and the electrical charges, the water molecules are aligned, and that forms a completely different type of water, a water that has an intelligence, a water that the body can use to inform it, the nervous system can use to inform it about what's going on. It's almost like an information processing water. And that structured water is critical for not only maintaining the body's ability to, or cells, or the body's ability to communicate internally, but also to maintain the form of the body. As we age, we lose our structure. And this is one of the hallmark signs of aging. I call it blobification. We turn into a blob gradually. We lose our firm, straight up and down structure, and we start to blobify. And the reason we blobify, partially, is because our water is losing its structured nature. It loses its structured nature because there's not enough, because of a disruption in the electrical charges between the matrix. This is where the electrical charges are the electrolytes are distributed, and the water. Well, there's one primary electrolyte that is responsible for structuring the water, and the matrix is loaded with this electrolyte, which in my personal opinion doesn't get anywhere near the attention that it should, and that electrolyte is called sulfate. Wherever you hear sulfate, you're talking about an electrically charged particle that has many roles in the body, but one of its most important roles is to structure water. Well, Fucoid Z and ZRadical are one of nature's best sources of natural sulfate. And so by using your Fucoid Z and your ZRadical, you're improving your body's sulfate concentration. By the way, and that helps improve structuring. One of the main ways that we make sulfate, believe it or not, this is also very interesting, just as an aside, is from the sun. The sun creates sulfate molecules in the skin, and exposure to the sun, exposure to photonic rays from the sun gets converted into sulfate. Sulfate is an electrolyte, which means it has an electrical nature, which means it has electrons. So in this way, photons from the sun get turned into electrons in the body, which means human beings, through our skin, are solar powered, which means our skin is like a solar panel. And that's why getting out in the sun is so important. And that's why ingesting sulfate is so important. And that's why the Fucoid Z is so important. So you've got benefits for the immune system. You got benefits for the connective tissue. You got benefits for structuring water. You got antioxidant benefits. You got autophagy promoting benefits. You got cardiovascular benefits. You got intestinal health benefits, and zero toxicity. You can drink that. You can swallow that whole bottle if you want. Zero toxicity with all those benefits. So you can see why, to a pharmacist who's always focusing on risk benefits, on the benefits of a substance versus its toxicity, why myself as a pharmacist, I'd be so fascinated with the Fucoid Z and the ZRadical. Now, like I said earlier, the Fucoid Z is a more concentrated form of the active ingredient. The ZRadical is tasty. You do get some B vitamins in the ZRadical that you don't get in the Fucoid Z, but the Fucoid Z will give you zinc and vitamin C. I personally think the Fucoid Z is better, but just if you're interested in just a tonic, or for your kids, or for people who don't want to supplement, a slug of the ZRadical once or twice a day can go a long way towards improving health challenges like connective tissue health challenges, joint challenges, anti-aging aging challenges, cardiovascular challenges, all the things we talked about, but also just as a general health tonic. The Fucoid Z should not be regarded as only corrective. It's also just a basic nutritive health substance that you can use as much as you want, that has anti-aging pro-health benefits in general. And that's why I love the Fucoid Z so much.
Well, I'm so glad that you talked about the Fucoid Z and all of the health benefits, because I take it twice a day. I have the powder, and I'll also, well, the powder ZRadical that I take twice a day, and I mix a scoop of that with 4 ounces. And then I also take the Fucoid Z tablets. So, man, I'm going to be like 12 in no time.
You'll be healthy. You'll be healthy. And by the way, Becca, you can't tell because you live with yourself, but I see you once a week. I can tell every week you're getting better and better. Your face is getting thinner. You got a brighter smile. I mean, you're looking better every single day. You're the perfect testimony to what you're doing. And sometimes when we do things ourselves, we see ourselves in the mirror every day, so we don't notice the differences. It takes somebody else seeing you, hasn't seen you for a week or even a couple of weeks, and they say, "What are you doing?" I'm sure people are asking you, "What are you doing?" Just in the last month or so, let alone what you've done in the last 5 or 6 years.
Well, and that's where taking pictures really lets you see it too.
Right. That's right.
As I go back through the pictures, like when I first started taking the 90 essential nutrients with the Pig Pack Plus, like you had mentioned earlier. And now, through time and seeing the progression, it's like, I do like what I see in my pictures. I'm liking them more and more, which is a good thing, right?
That's a really good thing. That's a really
tear
good thing.
ourselves apart all
And
the
that's,
time.
what you're saying is kind of important in another way too. A lot of what we're doing when we use supplements, when we take care of ourselves, is self-care and self-love. And we don't give ourselves enough love. We live in a culture where we're told not, we're almost uncomfortable about self-love. We're almost uncomfortable about, thinking highly of ourselves. Humility is really honored, and of course it has its place. But we want to regard nutritional supplementation, using your Mighty 90 essential nutrients, getting on the Healthy Start Pack, supplementing with a Fucoidan Z, even if you're not sick, as a way that we can love ourselves, that we can show ourselves appreciation, you know, and we don't do that enough. So that's another angle for another aspect of nutritional supplementation, and another approach we can take when we're talking about nutritional supplementation. Even if you're not sick, you'll feel fine. This is a way of giving yourself the love we deserve, our bodies deserve, this divine temple that we exist inside deserves. So what you're saying is really important. You look at yourself in the mirror. There's a lot of people that can't even look at themselves in the mirror. A lot of our, again, present company excluded, but think about the people who are our potential customers out there. They don't feel good about themselves. They don't love themselves. This is a way that we can present the value of nutritional supplementation to people, that this is an example of self-care and self-love. And if, every time you do your Beyond Tangy Tangerine, just think of what you're doing. You're loving your body. You're just like you love your pet. You know, if you have a pet, don't you love to feed your cat and feed your dog? Well, look at this pet. Talk about an animal that we're supposed to take care of. The human body that we're responsible for 80 to 100 to 120 years. It's just as valuable as your pet. Love your body as you're doing your Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Think of it as a way that you're nurturing and loving this physical form that is so forgiving and so kind and so giving to us, so loving to us.
I agree. Because, you know, we're told to, you know, put others before ourselves. You know, there's a lot of teachings to that. But if we don't take care of ourselves, how are we going to be able to take care of others?
That's right.
So we need to not forget that. And just because you're taking care of yourself and you're looking great does not mean that you are not humble. So that's very good words.
Humility and confidence will be your strength. Humility with confidence. That's the perfect combination.
Yep, absolutely. So I do have a couple questions that
let's get questions for the people who are here. Do you think we should get questions for the people who are here?
Too. We're going to get to those too. So in regards to Fucoidan, you had talked about it, cleaning the blood. I have a lot of people that come to me and say, I'm on blood thinners.
Yes.
So
that's a great question.
Blood thinner.
Fucoidan compared to a blood thinner is like a mosquito compared to an elephant. If you're on a blood thinner, it's not like Fucoidan is going to tip you over the edge. That's not how these things work. And sometimes you'll hear people, you know, and no knock on physicians, but they're not nutritionists, and they're not supposed to be nutritionists. We talked about that before. They're interested in saving your life. They're not interested in keeping you thriving and going and living to your God-given 120-year genetic lifespan. They just want to save your life. So they'll say things like, don't take vitamin K because it may counteract your blood thinning medication. Or even worse, don't eat any broccoli, or don't eat any green leafy vegetables. I mean, the thinking there, and it sounds ridiculous to anybody who understands how diet and nutrition works, but that's how they're trained. Fucoidan won't do that. It's not going to tip you over the edge. It's not a drug. And we have to really get this across our heads. It gets it through our heads, because we're conditioned to believe that if something has an effect on the body, it's a pharmacological effect. That's not true. A pharmacological effect is a high-tech science fiction-like effect for the body. A nutritional effect has nowhere near that kind of intensity and nowhere near that kind of potency. So you're not going to cause the body the blood to clot by eating broccoli. Eating broccoli is not going to counteract your blood thinner, which is like you're having an elephant on your roof compared to a mosquito floating around your head. A blood thinner is huge, powerful medicine, and you're not going to really throw that off with either the Fucoidan Z or the or broccoli or vitamin K going from the other direction. So it's a misunderstanding of how nutrition works. Doctors only think about pharmacology. They don't understand nutrition. So when they hear that vitamin K contributes to blood clotting, they think of a pharmacological intervention. That's not how vitamin K works. Vitamin K helps support an enzyme which is involved in the clotting process. Vitamin K is a coenzyme. It contributes to the enzymatic activity that is involved with how blood clots, but it doesn't clot the blood. You're not going to take vitamin K and your blood's going to clot all of a sudden. It's just going to be there in case your blood needs to clot. So you don't have to worry about counteracting your medication with Fucoidan is the bottom line.
Okay.
Now,
So
that being said, by the way, that being said, you want your patient always talking to the doctor. When patients are, if a patient's being cared for by a doctor, they have a de facto contract with that doctor. And it's not in our place to interfere with that relationship. However, that being said, it's the patient's right to do whatever they want to do. The patient's paying the doctor. The doctor's not paying the patient. So the doctor's there to serve the patient. If the patient wants to do something, they should be doing it, but they should be telling their physician. So it's not, we can't say here, get off your meds and take this. That's not our place to do. But we can tell the patient that this is all of the benefits associated with the Fucoid Z, the non-toxicity associated with Fucoid Z, the fact that it's not going to interfere with a drug. Tell your doctor. See what your doctor said. Work with your doctor. It's up to the patient. The patient has the right to do that. And patients need to be empowered to do that. You know, we get intimidated, not, again, present company excluded, but a lot of patients get intimidated by talking to who am I to talk to this great doctor? No, that's not how it works. The doctor works for you. And so if you feel like you need to be eating broccoli, even though he tells you not to, you say, you know what, doc, I'm going to go with the broccoli here. Okay, but there has to be a communication between the patient and the doctor.
absolutely communication between the patient and the doctor. And, you know, some of that communication that comes from the doctor, Pharmacist Ben, I know I was working with one patient, had some heart surgery, and the list of foods that they couldn't eat and could eat, I'm like, are you kidding me? You took away all the vegetables, almost all the fruit, yet you can have chips, soda, ice cream.
Right. Yeah. You know, there's a movie called it's called What the Health. And I think I talked about this yet. Did I say this last week? Yeah, I talked about this last week.
You did, but go ahead. It was
They
worth
interviewed the
saying.
doctor, and this doctor was the head of the American Diabetes Association. And they interview him and they go, let's talk about diet and diabetes. And he goes, I'm not going to talk about diet. And the guy goes, what? He couldn't believe it. He says, well, you're not going to talk about diet? He says, I'm not talking about diet. This is the head of the American Diabetes Association. Of course he's not going to talk about diet, because our food decisions, whether they're made at the level of the American Diabetes Association or made at the level of the local doctor or local dietitian, they're largely based on lobbying groups. It's lobbying groups for the dairy industry, and lobbying groups for the meat industry, and lobbying groups for the cereal people, and lobbying groups for the corn people that are determining what kind of foods we should eat. If you look at the American Diabetes Association's approved menu foods, you'll see things like cereal, you know, and bread, and 8 servings of grains or 6 servings of grains every day. You know, these foods that are classic dysglycemic foods that throw off blood sugar, they're on the ADA's menu. So, you know, you got to take all this, you got to take the mainstream medical advice with a grain of salt. Mainstream medicine has helped us in a lot of ways with heroic medicine, but in terms of chronic degenerative disease, diabetes is through the roof, cancer through the roof. You know, we had the war on cancer. Cancer rates have only increased, not decreased. Heart disease, all of these things. People aren't dying necessarily, by the way, because they figured out how to keep you alive longer so they can milk you at the hospital for more and more surgical procedures and drugs and everything. So they keep your life extended, but they haven't gotten rid of the problem. So the mainstream doesn't understand how to keep the body alive. That's where we come in. That's where nutrition comes in. That's where lifestyle comes in.
Well, as we are coming in and filling this gap and void in our communication that comes to us and what we can do to sustain life, we don't want to just barely survive. We want to thrive.
Right.
And that's what nutrition can do for each and every one of us.
Right.
I love the fact that I look younger now than I did 20 years ago.
Awesome.
My hair has life. It hasn't had that in my previous, before the products.
You got to get a before and after picture thing going there, Becca Dukes.
I do.
Do you not want to do it?
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I keep saying I'm going to do it.
Take one for the team. Do it for all of us.
Take one for the team.
Right.
In fact, I will, as we're taking questions, I will find one and pull it up. Okay.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and go to questions. And as we're going to questions. I just want to do a shout out to Florida, Michigan, Gold Coast, Queensland, Australia, Puerto Rico, Georgia, Illinois, UK, California, Massachusetts, Texas, New Jersey, Nevada, South Africa, Colorado,
Wow.
Oregon, Tennessee, Montana, Arkansas, Canada, Minnesota, Michigan. These are just people that have said hello and where they're coming in from. And Jill says, Ben, you are the bomb. And I have to agree. And I want to do a shout out to Dave. Thank you, Dave, for your sweet comments. And let's see, so Olga has some questions as well. And I think Phyllis is going to bring in that question. And let's go to the first hand that is up, and that is Brian. Brian, go ahead and unmute yourself. And if you want to come on camera, you are more than welcome to do so. Can we hear you, Brian?
Sure. Can you hear me? I'm here.
Yes.
Okay, very good. This is Brian. I got to you through the Facebook Messenger from Tony.
Okay, Brian.
I'm having a hard time.
Can you bring the microphone closer to your mouth?
Sure.
And if there's a fan going, it's interfering with us being able to understand what you're saying.
No fan, no nothing going, actually. Can you hear me now? I'm a little closer to the phone. I'm doing it on my phone.
That's better, yes.
Go ahead, Brian.
Okay. I said I got introduced to you, Becca, by Tony through Facebook. Anyways, I'm the guy with the mother that has the chronic lymphatic leukemia and the dementia going.
I'm not hearing that, Becca. Are you hearing?
Okay, so Brian's mom has lymphatic. Oh, I had it up here.
Yep.
But she also has dementia.
What's with the lymph?
Yes, lymphatic.
What is the lymph? What was the issue with the lymph? I didn't hear that.
The lymphatic leukemia.
Ah, lymphatic leukemia. Okay. All right. And she's old. I take it she's in her 80s or 90s?
She's 79, yes.
She's what?
79.
Okay, so she's young. 79 is young, potentially. So a lot of things you want to, there's a lot of things you want to do. Leukemia, lymphatic leukemia involves rapid division of blood cells in the lymph. And so let's not go there yet, because really her job, when you have leukemia, or any cancer really, your job is to feel stronger every day. Okay, that's the way you deal with cancer of any kind, is to feel stronger every day. The good news is that when the more broken down somebody is, the faster they can begin to notice results. So if a patient has dementia and she has lymphatic leukemia, that's a pretty broken down patient. I'm sure there's other things going on. So anything you do, Brian, for your mom is going to help her feel better, and that should be your strategy. So first of all, you got to, I'll tell you what you want to do, and I'll tell you what you want to avoid. She has to avoid anything that throws her blood sugar off. That's the most important strategy. And she has to avoid anything that causes digestive health issues. It's going to be a little tricky, because if she's 79, she's not going to want to change her life at that fundamental level of what she's eating. But that can go a huge, huge way towards improving her cognitive functioning, as well as any other symptoms that she has that led to the leukemia, including messed up blood sugar and digestive health problems. So the first thing I would do is avoid problem foods, and I get her on. I would have her minimize her intake of sugars, fast-burning sugars. Again,
alcoholic, loves her cakes and cookies.
Yes, exactly. So what I'm saying is she's not going to just stop eating sugar all of a sudden. So you want to wean her off or have her do less. Okay. You'll notice that her dementia symptoms get worse after she ingests sugar, maybe 10 minutes after she ingests sugar, especially if she drinks it, even faster if she drinks it. Okay, once the blood sugar is thrown off, it's very easy for the brain, the neurological functioning to suffer. In fact, Alzheimer's disease, which is not what you said she has, but Alzheimer's disease is actually called type 3 diabetes because of its relationship to dysglycemia. So correcting her blood sugar by not having her eat as much, and if she ingests more protein, that'll help her with her sugar. And she's probably underproteinated, because in hospitals and nursing homes, protein is not considered as much of a priority as it should be because of the expense. So more protein, less sugar. If you get her on soups, that's great. Bone soup, chicken soup, that kind of thing. And then you want to have her avoiding foods that cause digestive distress. The chances are that there's a lot of foods that cause digestive distress. Probably the digestive system is totally broken down. Then you want to give her things. The Healthy Start Pack is a must, an absolute must. And I don't know if she's in a hospital or nursing home now. They're not going to like her doing Beyond Tangerine, so you might have to smuggle it in. Or
No,
something.
we have her at home.
Okay, that's good. Perfect. Beyond Tangerine multiple times a day. That alone will make a huge difference. And of course, the Ultimate EFAs and the OsteoFX to get the mighty 90 essential nutrients. Also, the Ultimate Niacin. You know, niacin one of the signs of niacin deficiency disease is called pellagra. One of the symptoms of pellagra is dementia. Niacin, by the way, is also involved. The Ultimate Niacin is also important for blood sugar. So the Ultimate Niacin will help her with her sugars, and it will also help her with her brain functioning. I would also get her on the Synaptive for the brain. And then if you want to throw in a couple other things, if she has any digestive health issues, you might want to do the Ultimate Enzymes and the Nightly Essence. Those are kind of extra things. And then chances are pretty good, depending on how severe her digestive symptoms are, that she's dealing with a bacterial issue in the intestine, and that's where I-26 can come in handy. So all of that, remember I said when I started, I say your job is to help her feel better. All of that will help her feel better. And I also said that the more broken down a patient is, the quicker they notice results. All of that will help her feel better quickly. And that is the Lord's work, Brian, if you can help her feel better quickly. Make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I'm a fat man, but knows a lot about. I read a lot of nutritional stuff, and I'm not practicing what I understand. You know, I get it.
Okay, good deal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also, yeah. I got some health issues going on myself, but get mom going first.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
Yeah, thank you. I can talk all day about it. I know you're a busy man.
Thank you.
Thanks
I appreciate it. Okay.
Yep.
Thanks for coming in. Thanks for joining.
Yes, thank you, Brian. Thank you for bringing that in. I had your question up here on my screen. Let's move right over to Phyllis. And Phyllis, what questions are you bringing in today?
Well, I have a few. We'll see what we can get to because I know our time's a little bit limited. Ben, we have Skin Sol on YouTube is asking if a frozen shoulder pain could be a result of being perimenopausal. She didn't feel it until she turned 46.
Well, all ladies have heard of estrogen, right? But what we don't sometimes realize about estrogen is it can be a nightmare hormone. The body has to clear out estrogen quickly. When estrogen builds up, secondary to liver issues or intestinal issues, those are the two biggest reasons why estrogen builds up, in addition to exposure to so-called xenoestrogens or hormonal replacement or drug estrogens, et cetera. And there's estrogen in the water supply, and animals have estrogen. And so there's estrogen everywhere. Estrogen is very pro-inflammatory. As we get older, as women get older, we're led to believe that we are not making enough estrogen and we need estrogen replacement. We actually would be better off with progesterone replacement versus estrogen replacement because of estrogen's pro-inflammatory effects. So personally, if I was you, I would start using a natural estrogen, which can help balance out some of the toxicity associated with problems metabolizing estrogen or toxic estrogen. Natural estrogen is called your ultimate EFAs. Your ultimate EFAs and EFA plus, actually, I like that one a little better, acts like a natural estrogen. For women who are concerned about perimenopause or menopausal symptoms, or for this gal who thinks that the frozen shoulder might be related to perimenopause, your ultimate EFAs are like a natural form of hormone replacement therapy, a natural form of estrogen. So I'd be using the ultimate EFAs. Of course, the ultimate EFAs also have anti-inflammatory properties that can help with the frozen shoulder by itself. Also, the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack, which of course has the ultimate EFAs in it, would be another thing for you to consider. And then the Zero Fem for helping balance out estrogen. If there are any problems with the intestine, That can wreak havoc on the estrogen system for a couple of reasons, and also gallbladder if there's any gallbladder problems. So the ultimate enzymes, which Doc calls gallbladder in a bottle correctly, that would be something that you might want to consider. If there's any intestinal problems with SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, I-26, and then the whole digestive support protocol that we talk about. And then the healthy bone and joint pack, that would be the way I would go in addition to all the other things I said. And yes, they can absolutely be related to estrogen, frozen shoulder.
Okay. Next question. Olga on YouTube would like to know about the health benefits of Laminaria seaweed.
All seaweed has tremendous health benefits. And that's what, I didn't talk about the nutritional health benefits associated with the Fucoid Z, but seaweed has everything. It has vitamins, it has minerals, it has aminos, it has fatty acids. It is a complete nutritional substance. And that's why that's one of the beautiful advantages of the Fucoid Z is we talked about targeting it for the blood and for connective tissue and for the digestive system as a prebiotic and for the nervous system, et cetera. But it's also got all your nutrients in it, including iodine, by the way, because everybody always wants to know about iodine. Seaweed, think about what seaweed are. Seaweed are, they're like ocean grass, except instead of soil, they're getting all of the nutritional value that's in the ocean, which has everything. Look at all the life that lives in the ocean. You ever wonder how is it that the ocean can sustain so much unbelievable life density and life variety? It's because the ocean is a nutritional broth with everything you could possibly need in order to have life. And seaweed sits right on top of that and sucks all that goodness in. So laminaria and all seaweed is incredibly valuable, and that's one of the main reasons for the importance and the value of the Fucoid Z.
Perfect. And finally, Miriam heard you talking about creating structured water by using regular water and Ultimate Daily Classic in a blender. And she wanted to know how long do you blend it? And I guess we'd need to know the amounts as well.
I would do Beyond Tangy Tangerine, first of all, rather than the Ultimate Daily Classic. And then it doesn't take very long. When you depending on this blending speed, you can see when you hit the blender, the vortex is created right away. Once that vortex is created and it starts interacting with the electrolytes in your Beyond Tangy Tangerine, you're structuring that water. Now you got to drink it fast; it'll lose the structure. So you got to drink it fresh, but you don't need to do it very long. A couple seconds, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, something like that. I mean, I don't know exactly the time, but you can see once that vortex is created, the water is being structured. It doesn't take time. It doesn't take a time. It's a magnetic effect. So there's not time that's involved because you're creating that structure through magnetism, and that happens instantaneously.
Got it. So you can pulse it quickly.
Yeah.
But what about the proportion of BTT to water? Does that matter?
I mean, probably not. I mean, just do recommended dose. And I always like, the recommended dose on the BTT sometimes puts people off. I don't remember if we talked about it or not. Don't let people say, oh, it tastes too strong, or, I don't like the taste of it as a reason not to do the BTT. Just use less and it won't taste as intense, or spread out the dose over time, which is a good idea to do anyway. So half a capful, quarter capful, that should be plenty. And then it's much better to do it throughout the day than it is to do it on one fell swoop anyway.
Absolutely. I always tell people to add more water, keep the amount the same.
I know, exactly. Just go to where it tastes good for you.
Becca, back to you. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Phyllis. And we are right here at the top of the hour. And I know you have to go quickly. I have to go. But I'm going to do what I said. I'm going to share my screen. I've got a before and after.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
2017. This is the earliest that I can find. And this is actually about 6 months on the product. And I was feeling really good.
Wow.
And then this one is just a couple months ago, just after a haircut. And then you can see the progression here as well. This was before longevity, and then a few years later.
Is that your kid?
That's my baby. That's my baby. And that was, I think, 3 years ago. So I've got to get a new one added. I didn't find that any of those pictures on the computer to add. So
That's beautiful.
another progression to come. But folks, it really does make a difference what you put in your body. And somebody had a question about dry lips. I know when I added the essential fatty acids, my dry lips stopped.
That's exactly what you want to do. All dry skin. You ever wonder, in this country we sell billions, I think $14 billion last year in moisturizing creams, but everybody has dry skin. How can that be? How can it be that everybody has moisturizers? Some people have moisturizers in their car and in their purse and in their locker and in their office and two in their medicine cabinet, one in their kitchen, and they got dry skin. Because your dry skin is not a moisturizer issue. It's an essential fat issue. Get on the Ultimate EFAs. They're nature's moisturizers. Anybody who has dry skin, Ultimate EFAs, and don't just take 6 of them or 3 or 6 of them a day. Take 9 or 12 of them a day. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Wallach. Thank you, Goddess Jill, for being on the call. I saw you there. I'll see you in a couple days, Rebecca. Nice to see you. Bye, Phyllis. Bye, Marilyn. Thank you for everything you're doing. We'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you so much, Ben. Have a fantastic weekend. And if I could have my co-hosts up on the screen with me, I just want to do a shout out to them because I could not do this without them. They are a fabulous group that I just love and cherish and include them in my family. We have Phyllis, who has been with Dr. Wallach the longest of any of us here on the call. I don't know, you're right there with Ben when it comes to your longevity with longevity. So we've got Phyllis doing a great job on social media and bringing those questions in, letting people in, and also chat in the chat. And Marilyn, who is putting that, interpreting, transcribing, actually, things that are being said within the program, putting that in the chat, which is one of the big advantages of being here live with us on Daily with Doc, is you do get that chat where things are typed out and you can see it in black and white. And then we have Coach Rod, who is helping and keep an eye on the room, letting people in, also watching social media. Thank you, Rod, joining us. And also AJ, who is making sure that the stream continues to go and gets that set up at the beginning of the program. I couldn't do it all by myself. I've tried. Actually, before we started doing as much as we're doing now, I was doing it mostly by myself. So I greatly appreciate the fact that we are able to bring our skills and most of all, our love for people, because we have found the value in nutrition and we see such a hurting world and we know the importance and the difference that putting a quality supplement into your body, into your life, into your everyday can make within how we not only look, but also how we feel. We invite you to feel it as well. Get back with the person that shared this program with you. Now, this program is not meant to take the place of your primary care physician, nor are the products meant to treat, diagnose, or cure any diseases. And since Ben left the room, I can say this without him getting frustrated. But folks, we can do so much on our own. We don't need a piece of paper written that we take to a pharmacy or get sent electronically now to a pharmacy to pick up a pill that hides the stuff that's going wrong. Nutrition. Please give it a try. You are worth the investment for yourself and your family. Now, if you find value in this program and you would like to be part of this family, we invite you, as we have open doors to anyone that really wants to share and make a difference and get a thank you check for doing so. Now, that thank you check can be just a little bit or cover the cost of your own stuff, or you can turn it into something that is a career that is bringing in money to live on. It's a fantastic place to be. Plus, you're surrounded by people that have a positive energy that just really helps to keep you going as well. And that's another thing I love about my family. So join us, get back with the person that shared this program with you. If there is no one to thank, go ahead and give us a call at 855-949-3377. If you'd like to communicate by email, you want information about the business, go info@dailywithdoc.com. Again, that's info@dailywithdoc.com. Or if you have questions @dailywithdoc.com. Again, that's questions with an S @dailywithdoc.com. Feel free to go to our website. You're going to find the store there with all the products that were spoken of today. Also a contact option. So if you forget the email addresses, use that contact option. We get that as well. But most importantly, if you were referred by somebody specific, get back with them. They cared enough about you to share this program with you. We want to hear, we always love hearing people who are coaches within the community say, hey, thank you so much. This person loved this part about the show. So please let them know what you liked best about the show as well. Until next time, my name is Becca Dukes. On behalf of the Daily with Doc crew, have a fabulous day. Bye for now.
Record.